Hey everyone, and welcome to Wire Uncut, our bi-weekly coffee talk where we chat with some of the people behind Europe's most exciting tech alternatives. Today my guest is Fran Villalba Segarra from Internxt, a privacy-first cloud company delivering secure zero-knowledge services built in Europe. Hi Fran.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, all good from my part. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Working a lot. Still, although we're in summer, still working and a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, same here as well. So let's jump in and start with a quick introduction. So just say a few words about yourself and Internext.
Yeah, so I'm Fran. I'm the founder and CEO of a tech company called Internxt. We started about 5 years ago. And basically, we're trying to accomplish the mission of creating a digital world that respects user privacy. So we're in the same industry as companies like Tuta or Wire or Nord or Proton, etc. And I think there's really a need for these kind of companies in today's digital world, where essentially kind of you have to, like, whenever you use a tech companies' services, you're kind of selling your soul to the devil, so to speak. They're essentially, accessing your information, selling it to third parties or getting hacked or whatever. So we're trying to, join you guys, like all these companies, in the mission of creating a better internet. And for that, we our main service is a cloud storage product. It's called Internxt Drive. That's essentially a more secure, more private alternative to Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. We use post-quantum zero-knowledge encryption to ensure that no third party can ever gain access to your data.
Perfect. Thank you for this quick introduction. And how does a typical customer look like?
Yeah, so for us, kind of our service is both B2C and B2B. For B2C, for example, for individuals, we're going after privacy conscious, people that essentially, want to de-Google, so to speak. They want to use an alternative to Google in one of the verticals that we operate in. We have an antivirus, cloud storage. We're going to release a video call alternative as well, email also. So we kind of want to substitute Google in all these verticals that they operate in. So our users are essentially people that are currently using one of these kind of, for example, Proton Mail or whatever. They also want to use an alternative to Google Drive, for example, and they come to us. So or maybe they use Brave browser as an alternative to Google Chrome, and they use Internxt as an alternative to Internxt Drive as an alternative to Google Drive. So it's basically privacy conscious people. So tech people, or people that essentially don't want their data to get stolen. Ultimately, our suite is very UX friendly. It's very usable, and people don't really give up on any features that they would have on their usual internet service. And therefore, with all the complexity that a service like ours has, and with the limited resources that we have, because we're still like 30 people in our team. So obviously we're not a company as large as Dropbox or Google. We're trying our best to create this open source project that essentially, respects user privacy. And then for businesses, it's essentially companies that, again, have more confidential information. So for example, companies that operate in the education sector or legal sector, they also have a lot of confidential files or documents that they don't want to get in the hands of hackers. So we also try to go after those. And I think there's a lot of room for us to grow. We have about 1 million users to date. Companies like, for example, Proton Mail, they have like 120 million or something. So we still have like a lot of room to grow. We're a freemium service like them. So we have a basic free plan and then premium plans. The one customer that we're not going after because we don't think it's efficient, especially given the small size that we have and the huge market opportunity that we have in going after privacy conscious people. So the one customer that we didn't go after is, for example, my sister that's studying in university, doing some Google Docs for their university documents or whatever. So it's usually people that don't really, care so much about the confidentiality of their files. So trying to convince that kind of normal user, so to speak, right now, it's more costly because you have to educate them and stuff. And I think there's a big enough room for us to grow in the kind of privacy people that are very privacy conscious. And for us, that's much more effective. Yeah.
Understood. What's like one common misconception people have when switching from big tech to a solution like Internext?
Yeah, so usually people, I think, when they switch to solution like ours, they think that it's very, not user friendly at all, very technical, and it is indeed very technical and very complicated on the back end, but we've made it very simple for the user. So our apps, we have a web app, mobile app for all the kind of operating systems. We have a desktop app for all operating systems as well. So we're pretty much everywhere, and our apps are very, user friendly, and it's literally like using, Google Drive in terms
Hmm.
of usability. It's super simple and very, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel in the sense that we thought that the UX of these kind of services was already familiar for people and it was already good enough. So it didn't make sense to kind of, innovate too much there. We wanted to make a smooth transition for the user. So we made it very, super simple. And then on the back end, we've developed in-house everything. And, we have PhDs working at Internxt. We have a lot of developers, engineers doing a lot of work in the back end so that everything is as secure as possible. And as I said, all our code is also open source in case people want to take a look. We're also fully audited by a
Hmm.
company called Securitum, which is the same one that does the security audits for ProtonMail, for example. And actually, very recently, this year, we also did another security audit that we will be publishing soon in our blog as well.
Perfect. You mentioned that you are a pretty small team, 30 people, right? What has been the hardest challenge to overcome so far in the past 5 years since you launched?
Regards the team, we're indeed a small company. We're 30 people. We're not a lot of people, but I don't envision Internext as a company with like millions of employees. I think that Internext has the potential of become a company as large as $1 billion company without a proportional increase in costs in terms of personnel. So if you look at companies like, for example, Telegram, they have like 30 people as well, or even WhatsApp back in the day, which are somewhat in your sector.
Yes.
I would say. But for example, Telegram in particular, I think Pavel Durov, he's doing an amazing work, amazing job, and he has like also like 30 people, and they're making much more money than any of the companies I mentioned before, all combined. So they're huge in terms of impact. And so I envision for Internext a similar thing. I want to have the best engineers, the best people in the company, 30, 50, 100, but not make it grow so proportional to user growth. I want to make sure Internext is very scalable and that we can grow, the company without having to have like SDRs, like or 500 SDRs, like commercials, having to call companies and stuff. I don't like that. I want to have, really intelligent people that get paid a lot of money and that we can distribute all our earnings and benefits within the team so that they retain in the company and they're happy with us. So that's with regards to the team. So I think it's a small team, but a very powerful team that's giving, service to, like, as I said, almost million active users right now. And with regards to challenges, so we've been growing at a rate of around 100% year over year for the past few years in terms of net revenue. We want to keep doing so for the next few years. Our goal is to be at around $10 million per year in net revenue by 2027. So within a couple of years from now, we want to be at around $10 million in net revenue for that year. We want to grow profitably, sustainably, like we've been doing since last year. And, that's obviously a big challenge. I think there's a lot of room to grow, but we have to keep scaling the company so that we become a significant player.
That's a really nice vision for Internext. Now I would like to have your thoughts and your view on digital sovereignty in Europe.
Yeah, I think that Europe is doing a great job in protecting user privacy, at least more than the US, where it's like everything, like it's okay for them. They don't really do a lot of stuff to protect the user in any means. I think Europe, is betting a lot in companies. I think they funded companies like ProtonMail, and so did we. So, for example, this year and last year, we received also public funding from the EU so that we would, total freedom and resources to create our suite of solutions. But I think, they're betting for Europe to have its own sovereign ecosystem. We use EU data centers so that data is retained within the European Union. And I think it's very important for the EU to not only, because sometimes, I don't know if you've heard this phrase of like, the United States innovate, EU regulates, and China basically
Yes,
replicates.
yes.
So I think it's not really, it shouldn't be like that. Like, for example, Europe's biggest innovation these past few years has been these bottles that you can, I don't know if you have these in your country.
Yes, of course we have.
you can't remove the tap anymore, right? So we can have these sort of innovations as part of Europe's legacy to the world. I think it's fine, but we need bigger disruptions, and they all. I mean, for many years already, Europe has been behind the US or China. To be honest, China is very good at replicating and doing it cheaper. But I think Europe has to make a lot of work in bring in kind of creating its own suite of companies that are large enough to compete with those from China or the US. When you think of internet companies, you have Google, you have Microsoft, you have Amazon, you have Alibaba. All these companies are all either Chinese or American. There's no big European tech companies. There's not, I mean, maybe like, I don't know, 10 or something, but like not as big as the other ones. And not even Proton Mail. We think Proton or Wire, they're big, but compared to the size of actual big companies in the US, they're tiny. And so is Internxt even more small. So I think there needs to be a lot of work, in making our lives easier, and not because even for entrepreneurs here, it's really complicated in terms of bureaucracy and everything. I think there really needs to be some sort of, more work in creating more companies like us, for example, because otherwise we're left to the mercy of what the US or China want, and without an alternative to that. So if you can be independent, I think it's better, and that's what I think the EU should bet for.
Perfect, thanks. So let's switch a little bit. Which European tech company do you admire or you think deserves more attention, and why?
I mean, as I said, I think in the European Union we have pretty interesting companies that are growing, still not huge, but I think they're very interesting. You have, for example, Proton. You have you guys. You have Hostinger. I worked there at Hostinger for like 5 years before I started Internxt. I think they're based out in Lithuania. Very, very cool company. So I think they're also doing great, but more specifically in the privacy ecosystem. For example, Bitdefender, I think that they're starting in Romania. They're partners of ours. We work very closely with them. They're also a really cool company. They're doing things very well. They started with the antivirus, but they're now starting to also divert to other verticals like you all are, trying to create that suite. And I think they're doing a great job. They're also a large company and they're trying to innovate.
Thanks. Then let's do just a question that I ask to everyone, more like a fun part. If Internxt were a European city, which one would be and why?
I think kind of in line with the argument that we were discussing right now.
Yeah.
I would say it's pretty like if we would say Paris or Barcelona, I think it would be pretty appropriate.
So then let's wrap up our interview and say if someone watching and wants to try Internxt, what's the best first step to do?
Yeah, so you can just go on our website, internxt.com. It's Internxt without the second E, so it's Internxt, and then they just click on get started, and they can literally start with our free plan. We have a free plan for 1 GB they can test out, and then if they want a premium plan, we can provide more storage up to 5 TB. We have the antivirus as well, device cleaner, Internxt Meet and Internxt Mail this year as well. So a lot of stuff is in the making, and yeah, we just want to provide that whole like all-in-one privacy suite that people can ultimately use. So yeah, that's how they can get started.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and wishing you good luck for the future and for the next steps you just mentioned are coming this year.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks for having me.